Systems United. We are doing just kind of running around in Horizon 2. I got this a while ago. It was before they had what was it? Game Pass Ultimate. They have games with gold where once a month they would give you 3 games for free, and so this was one of them I got for free. And so I thought I lost it. This is a long time ago. I thought I lost it, but I thought I lost it because I deleted it from my Xbox because it had not that much space. But then I went to install it again, couldn't find it anywhere. So they really kind of obfuscated it. There was like a couple. You could go directly to the store and re-download it. That wasn't the problem. But if you looked in like purchased games or games with gold, it was just like completely disappeared. So sometimes I don't know. They just don't want you to find it. But I got it back. And then I was actually going to do Horizon 3. I was setting up yesterday. I downloaded it and everything. I said, this is weird. I figured it was like the same thing where they're like, don't tell anyone where it is because we want people to buy Horizon 5 or minimum 4. And so I downloaded it. It was like 50 gigs. And then I go to play it because I figure, maybe it's part of Game Pass. They just don't advertise it. And it's like, did you buy the game? And I was like, no. So I was like, oh, fine. I'll go buy the game. And no, you can't purchase it. They've discontinued it. It reached end of life. And so you can still download it. You just can't buy it or play it unless you already paid for it in the past. And so, because I'm old school and my Xbox One S has a disk drive, I bought a copy of Forza Horizon 3. They didn't say it was used, which I don't care. I usually buy used games. But it was like $19, so I'm getting the disc, and then I just have to put the disc in. It doesn't even read from the disc because it says, you got it from, you have it downloaded. So that's that. So my goal is to do like all the Horizons. We did Horizon 5 first, but we'll go back and do Horizon 3, which I've never played before. I've only done the demo. And then, so right now we're doing Horizon 2. So then we'll do Horizon 3 and 4.
Before we go, I just want to thank all of you for helping me get these graphs at Horizon. Believe me, it's just a taste of what's to come. This is going to be the summer of our lives.
So we got a little bit of things to change.
Several assists are turned on by default. You can earn higher payouts by disabling them, but this will make it harder to control your car.
Let's see. We'll do average. There's one I don't like, and I don't know if it's ABS. No, I think it's fine. I think they added the thing I don't like in the later Horizons. So I got that. And then audio. No. It says radio volume, but I don't know if that means all the music. We'll see. And then I have my own music. I'm a little messed up. Not like messed up in the head, but tired. My life was a lie. I'm doing a lot of astrophotography, and it's hard because usually in winter, like, yeah, there's clouds, but when the sky is clear, it's like really clear, and there's like very little humidity. Like, you can see, a ton of stars with the naked eye, and that has not been the case this winter. I've been able to go out and get pictures of the stars only once in December, and then so far twice in all of January. So that's not very good, especially since I invested a little more in astrophotography gear. But yeah, so last night it was supposed to be a big night where I was going to shoot all night long.
As far as I know, you're one of the first people in Europe to drive that thing.
And then
People at the festival waiting to get a look at it. So, let's get it there in one piece, yeah?
and so I set up everything last night. You have to do this thing with polar alignment where you have to aim the tripod base. It has kind of this, it's a special head that holds the tripod, that holds the camera, and it rotates the camera with the rotation of the Earth. So even though it's rotating, it's looking at the exact same star as the night sky turns. So in order to get it to rotate at the right rate, you have to aim it at the celestial North Pole. So it's not just that you have to aim it north, but you have to tilt it up at the right degree. So you have to tilt it up at your longitude, and then you actually aim it. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you aim it at the North Star Polaris. And the more accurate you aim it at Polaris, the smoother and better your shots will be. And so the whole point of it is so that, one, you can set up your tripod to do long exposures, and it will stay pointed at the right star. There won't be any star trails. Because if you do a long exposure at the night, like, the planet rotates faster than you think, and so you'll get like motion blur effects on the stars and everything if you go longer than like 5 seconds on a regular tripod. And so this fixes that. And then what I'm doing now is I'm getting into stacking, where you take 1,000 or 2,000 photos of a short time, like 5 or 6 seconds, and then in the computer it aligns all 1,000 photos, and it combines that into, essentially, if it's like 1,000 photos and it took an hour and a half to do it, then it's like an hour and a half exposure. And so the advantage of that is, if you did like an hour and a half long exposure and like a cloud came in, that would ruin your shot. Or if you did an hour and a half and then there was like a couple of planes that flew across, that would ruin your shot. And so doing it in the 5-second chunks, you can actually take out the photos that weren't good, like a cloud came in, there was a plane, a lens flare or something. And so then it doesn't really affect it affects the final image in that it will be clearer and better looking. But so I set up, I have two mounts, astrophotography mounts, and so I got them polar aligned and everything. It was like perfect. The stars were out, but I was going to wait a little bit longer because the constellations I wanted were not out yet. So then the clouds came in, and I was like, this is fine, because the weather report was the weather report was that it was going to get cloudy around 10, and then 11 it would be clear. And it just, the clouds never went away. And when I was looking on the map, it was like there was a patch of clouds that was just directly over my house, not moving at all. The rest of the city had a clear sky, just not me.
All right, I'll see you there. I forgot to say, all of our cars come pre-tuned to 3 festival radio stations: Horizon Base Arena, Horizon XS, and Horizon Pulse.
So yeah, so I waited up all night, and I was like, waited all night where I was like, oh, the clouds will disappear at,
Organising a little
you know,
contest
at
between you and
12, and then the report was like, oh, it will disappear at, you know, at 1 a.m. And so I'm waiting, and then 1 came and they were still there. They were just sitting there.
Turn right.
And then there were like 3, and then at 4 a.m. and I said, well, this is it.
Turn right.
I have to pack up. And so I made like this little hut. It's not little, it's 6 feet by 7 feet. It's 6 feet by 6 feet by 7 feet. And then I set up my computer in there to do the telescope and everything.
To sign up for an event, you just need to drive
And
up to
it,
marker, confirm you want to
I
enter.
tore that down, but it was like a little windy, so it kept blowing my structure over. It's built out of PVC and has a tarp and everything, just for, you know, protection from wind and light rain. So it kept blowing over. So today, it's supposed to be completely clear. Like right now it's clear, and all nights it's supposed to be clear. So I believe it a little more. But I'm going to be going out tonight.
The same way they do. Some of them will be your friends, so if you beat them, be sure to tell them the next time you speak to them. Are you ready to put those new wheels to the test?
I'm ready.
This is the Horizon Heats. Finish in the top 3 and you get your festival wristband. That's the ticket to the road trip of your life.
The road trip of my life. But yeah, so I bought some stakes to put in the ground to hold it up. I was gonna do this elaborate PVC like reinforcement thing, but I decided to just go basic and do a stake system to keep it from blowing over. I've set it up maybe 5 times before, and I've never had a problem, but it also wasn't windy at all. We're doing it. We're doing it.
You're doing well. Maintain that top 3 position to get your wristband.
I used to be such a huge Need for Speed fan. I was like, Need for Speed forever, blah, blah, blah. And now I do like Forza non-stop.
That's it. A win in your first race. I knew this wouldn't be a problem for a driver like you. You know what this means, right? You get yourself a yellow wristband, and you're coming on the road trip.
Oh, a wristband.
So, what do you say we enjoy these cars and take it for a nice cruise down the coast? It's not a race? Well, at least not until we get there. You might want to keep your eyes on the road. Looks like rain. One thing you need to know about Horizon, showing off is just as rewarding as winning. From now on, showing off your skill on road will earn you skill points, which you can use to unlock perks.
In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. You've earned a skill point. You can use it to unlock a perk. This is the perk screen. You can use your skill point to unlock a perk. The first perk will allow you to earn XP from the skills you bank. Once unlocked, a perk is permanently active. Unlocking a perk also opens up new perks for you to get next time you've earned a skill point.
Now it's a mistake.
Hey, it's Ben. How's the weather looking out there? Handling can get a little lively in the rain. Bad luck. Collisions will break your skill chain. The longer you can keep a chain going, the better. But crash, and you lose it all.
Oh, it was funny. My family and I celebrate Epiphany, and so we put the shoe under a tree, and then we get gifts. They're usually like little gifts, like chocolate and things like that. Usually we get like a marzipan pig or something, and the pig is for good luck. But this year my mom got us, it was pretty funny. She got us,
Right.
she calls them scratchies. I said, I don't think they're called scratchies, they're called scratch offs. And like maybe it's a British thing, they're called scratchies. But my sisters and I all got one. And so I actually won something. I won $5. And so it was like, yeah. Hashtag winning. So that was fun.
Hey, actually, I didn't know you were here today.
Yeah, that rain gave us the spin out. Our work's all piled up.
Hey,
said for
This will be a pre-race championship. Go ahead and choose which one you'd like to attempt first.
Hey, the garage is now open if you want to upgrade your car or get a new paint job. You have arrived at your destination.
Okay, this is your first championship race. It'll be a real step up from the hits. This is where it gets serious.
I've been working on doing AI stuff, machine learning, and so I've actually found this library, that programming library that has a ton of stuff. It's really easy. It's plug in transformers and stuff, and so like you can install anything pretty easily with Python, just doing a pip install, and then you just include it in your Python script. But so I've done stuff with like GPT-2 and Neo, and the only one I was really able to get to work was Neo with a 2.7 billion. It's not database. It's slim weights, but it's also called something else. Parameters. 2.7 billion parameters. So the more parameters you have, the kind of better the answers you get. And so like I'll ask it, what is a black hole? And it says a black hole is blah 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 blah. And so the problem I get into is like I ask a question like what is a black hole, but I want it to be like 100-word response. And so it will give me like maybe a 50-word response, and then the rest of it is just the last sentence repeated forever. It's just like a black hole is this big, a black hole is this big. I read a couple of them last time. But, so the bigger the parameter database, kind of the more data it has and the more things it can predict that it thinks you want to know. And, but these databases are huge, And so like the 2.7 billion database is um, it's like, I think it was like maybe 15 gigabytes. No, it was 20 gigabytes. And so the file size is important because it also has to be um, loaded in its entirety into RAM. And so they're mainly designed to be run on the graphics cards, which is why it's so difficult to do, um, in terms of just at home, because you need a graphics card that would be able to hold, 20 gigs of RAM. And so the new stuff with like Neo X, which is 20 billion parameter thing, and they're getting higher where they have 175 parameters, and so that's kind of a lot of uh, options in terms of responses it can return. And those ones you need like 48 gigs of GPU memory, and so it's not cheap to do. I run it off a Linux box. It's only using CPU. It doesn't even have a graphics card. So I'm running it off a RAM, and uh, the servers I use are retired end-of-life servers. I get them used on eBay, and they're like $80, and then you have to spend like another 80 for a power supply. But uh, they have like 20 gigs of RAM as well. And so I'm able to do it off the CPU, which is a little bit slower. Well, I mean, it's pretty slow. Like, you'll ask it a question and it takes like 5 minutes of just loading the parameters into RAM. And then it takes maybe 15-20 minutes for it to figure out the response. And so I have a Python script that does it where it's like I write 5 questions and then I come back an hour later and it has answered them. So I've been playing with different parameter models. So I've done Neo, and then which is 2.7 billion parameters. You can download one that's like 1.7 billion, or you can do like 3.5 million. And the lower the number, the faster it is. But also, kind of the less detailed the responses are. And so I've 2.7 seems to be the limitation for doing it on the CPU. Any bigger and you need a lot more RAM, and you need it to be processed on the graphics card. Now, the reason why it works better on graphics card is the CPU is good for doing extremely complex calculations, but essentially one at a time. The GPU can do thousands of millions of calculations, but they have to be very simple calculations. And the reason why graphics cards are like that is because they have to do really fast calculations for each pixel. And so just HD is about 1.6 million pixels it has to process instantaneously to like our eyes. And so it does a lot of simple calculations but really quickly. And so with the AI, it does really simple, thousands of searching through. Okay, what does this what does this word mean? What does that word mean? And putting them together and just searching the database, the parameters really quickly, and then returning the results. So it's not like it has to think that hard. It just has to search through a huge amount of data, which is why it's needs to be loaded in RAM, one, and then two. It's essentially like, if you think about it, it's like having 1,000 tabs open, and it's searching, searching with Google, and has to compare each one. So it's not that computationally intensive, but it is hugely resource intensive. So kind of what I've discovered is, with the older servers that I have, the limit is really 2.7 billion parameters. off a CPU. I did get this kind of one script running where it loads each section, so the parameters can be split into different chunks. And so I had it running where on my really old, it's like a NVIDIA 1050 or 1040 Ti. So it is a very, it's not that it's so old, it's just, it is very entry level. I was able to get it running where it would load one section at a time, and then the graphics card would go through it and do that batch of parameters, and then it would do the next one. But it would take a huge amount of RAM because it still has to load it in the CPU RAM, and then the CPU motherboard RAM will stream it to the graphics card. And the graphics card only has like 1 gig of RAM, so it has to stop and stream and stop and stream a lot. So I could get it to load. If I wanted like 5 or 6 word answers, it would work, but it wasn't very good. And that was for 20 billion parameters. It would take hours. But over the week, what I've been playing with is
Alright, third race and you're in for a real treat. This
real
is
treat.
our first cross-country event of the summer. It's a brand new event at Horizon. You'll be taking on all
So I've been
kinds
playing
of
with different
terrain, so
databases, and there's
visualize the
one
next checkpoint and
from
focus.
Meta/Facebook,
If you win this one,
which is
you
kind of
might
like
just finish
all the
top
other
of the
databases,
very first championship
but
at
they've
Horizon.
combined it into one kind of series. So you can get, up to 2.7 billion. You can even get a 6 billion. I wasn't able to get that to work so well because it needed so much RAM. And I did increase the swap space, which is like when it stores part of RAM on the hard drive, and swap is so slow, it keeps it from crashing, but it also takes so long. So it's not that great to use swap. It's almost useless. I even set a swap hard drive that's an SSD. It still was way too slow. And so yeah, the Meta one from Facebook is called OPT. And so if you have like a lot of resources, that one's nice because you can experiment. There's a lot of different sizes you can experiment with all in one. Kind of the really good one that's open source, like actually open source, you can download and everything, is Neo. And so there's Neo 1 and 2, and Neo 2 goes up to 2.7 billion parameters, but Neo X, which is their new one and the only one they're working on right now, I couldn't see where I was going. I didn't look at the map at the right time. Neo X does 20 billion parameters, which is a huge amount. You need, like I said, that was the one that you need 48 gigs of RAM. And so I couldn't get that one to work. And it was just, I could get it to load, the program worked and everything. It was just, it took too much time to be useful. Where like, it wouldn't crash, but it would take like 12 or 13 hours of working before I quit. What is this? What is this? I guess minding my own business. This guy creeping up on me. I'm gonna take a shortcut. That guy needs to stay back there. Stay back.
One championship entered, one championship won. I knew you were class. Let's see how long you can keep this perfect record going. Now, drive well and win enough championships, and you'll be invited to the Horizon finale. Your chance to compete to become the Horizon champion. That's the reason we're
Level
all here,
2.
right?
I'll be right back.
All right. Before we head to Nice, I have something a little special for you. Meet me here as soon as you can.
Okay, I'm back. So continuing on with the AI story. So there's, this huge repository of AI libraries and parameters you can download, and it's all like from like universities and larger tech corporations. And so you can experiment with them all. And it's really quite incredible, that you can, build all this stuff if you have enough resources at home. And like I said, the resources don't even have to be that big. My servers cost in total about 150 per, well, maybe 200 per server. It's like $80 from eBay used, and then again, the power supply is almost more expensive than the server, where it can be 100 or 150. But you pretty much just need enough RAM. And like if you have a medium grade PC and it has 32 gigs of RAM, you could definitely load the 2.7 billion on the CPU. No issue. It would just take like 20 minutes per question.
Something new I've organised for this year's festival is the Horizon Bucket List. A list of things you just gotta do.
I don't like the bucket list.
Okay. I've had cars like this placed all over Europe. Inside the car, you find some instructions, a challenge. If you only
So one of them. So remember how I was talking about how like Google's terrified? So yes, they're terrified with AI, but they have their own. It doesn't answer questions. What's really cool about it is that it does summaries. So like you can give it like a sentence. Well, not a sentence. You can give it like a paragraph. You could give it a sentence as well, but it will summarize what the paragraph said. So I looked up this observatory, and I think it was like the Chandler Observatory. And so it's like this Chandler. The original text was like the Chandler Observatory has found a huge collection of black holes that have formed a spiderweb matrix within their galaxy. And so then I give that paragraph to the Google AI. It's called Pegasus, and Pegasus will respond with the Chandler Observatory found a new series of network of black holes. So it took like those 3 sentences, and it actually gets pretty well. It figures out the subject, what's important, and leaves out the extra stuff. So that is super powerful, because I can just give it articles and it will give me, okay, this is the point of each paragraph. And like that is helpful on so many levels. Like I have dyslexia, and then on a different issue I had a head trauma, and so a lot of growing up before the head trauma, I'd have to read something and then it'd be like, what was it that I just read? What was the point of the paragraph and everything? And so a lot of the tutoring and everything was not only learning, how to spell better and read better, but it was also about, writing better articles and stuff.
Turn left.
And so the the summary in terms of like for learning disabilities and everything is like, okay, you read this big paragraph and then you can have the AI say, okay, this is what was in it. And then the difference with my head trauma was that it was in high school, and like I had to be hospitalized for a month, and then I had to be an outpatient for a month. And I kind of rushed outpatient because I was like, yeah, I'll get back to normal. I'll get back to high school and everything. And that was kind of a mistake because it wasn't like, oh, I was, not ready to get out. But, once I had the school workload, it was a lot more difficult than, before the head trauma. And so one of the issues was like I could read very slowly, but I couldn't understand what I was reading. So like I could read it out loud, and I was like, "What did I just read?" And like that AI would have been so helpful because I could have, written or pasted the paragraph of like a book, and like what was the point, and like it could have given me back, a short response. It was like, this is the important takeaways. So it's really quite incredible, what it can do. Like these AIs would be so helpful for people with learning disabilities or people that need rehabilitation from head traumas and other issues. And so with the Pegasus, what I have it do is I write just a text document, or I can like paste things from Wikipedia. I've done like whole Wikipedia articles, like 50 articles at once. And so then in Python, what it does is it reads the text file, and then I have it where it divides it by paragraph. And so it splits the file up into different paragraphs, and then I tell it. I'm trying to figure out how it can do it automated, but I tell it, okay, get each 3 sentences out of a paragraph. And I know that paragraphs are supposed to be like 3 or 4 sentences, but a lot of the material I'm getting, they're like 7 or 8 sentence paragraphs. And so I say, okay, process 3 sentences of each paragraph at a time. So if a paragraph's like 7 sentences, it will do the first 4, and then we'll do the next 3. And the reason why I did that is because if you do it just, split it up by 3 sentences at a time, you might get it where that same thing would be, it would process the first paragraph of 4 sentences, and then the next 4 sentences would be 3 of one paragraph, and then the beginning of another paragraph. And so that wouldn't really make sense. Maybe misaligned because each paragraph is supposed to be a different subject. And so that's why I have it divide by paragraphs and then again divide by sentences. And so what I would want is like, okay, maybe, okay, have it look and say, okay, this paragraph is,
Oh, and did I mention?
7 is maybe like eight sentences, and so maybe processing 3 sentences at a time isn't good. It should do 4. So they haven't decided how to do that. Have it decide as an algorithm versus having it something I hard code in. But like I've given it books. I gave it Plato's Republic, and it took maybe hour and a half, and it summarized each paragraph.
Alright, that's terrific. Where are you now? Oh, this is a... We're just about to cruise down to Nice.
And then I've done a whole bunch of web searches and combined them into a text document, and it summarizes that pretty well. So it's nice because it's like having, you know, staff where it's like, okay, I need, you know, 15 facts about this, and then I give it the articles to look at, and it summarizes them up pretty well, and then I can write my own article. So it's a really nice aid for processing a huge amount of data. And like I said, the Google Pegasus summarization, like, it's really good. There are a couple situations where, of course, it messes up, but it's not what you think. So, like, there will be a couple of special characters, like a dot and a couple dashes or something inside the text document that it doesn't understand. And so it thinks it's saying something else when really it's just like exclamation points and reference links and stuff. So it doesn't understand that. But just straight on straight text and sentences, it works fine. And then there's a larger Pegasus database, Pegasus X. Oh man. I use those guys to help me train. There's a larger Pegasus X database, and I haven't been able to get that one to work because it's so huge I can't load it all into RAM. But like I said, I run that off the CPU. It's really easy to do. Like, it's not that difficult to use. And I do have a GitHub, and I plan on just posting these scripts and a little YouTube video on how to do it. And so yeah, it's funny because like academia, they're like really, I don't know, they're like always misinformed, and it really makes me wonder about the education system. And like I say this, so like when the iPad came out, they were furious. You know, they were like, they literally banned iPads from colleges for a while because they're like, you can't have a digital ebook and blah blah blah. And so it's like, why not? Because like iBooks at the time and Kindle, it was great because you could highlight things, you could make the font bigger, you could search through the chapters for things you were looking for. And they were like, no, you can only use physical books and blah blah blah. And it's like, why would you force someone, you know, the font size alone, being able to change the font size, like, why would you take away someone's option to do that? And their excuse was like, oh, it's going to increase our network, we don't know what you're reading, and all this stuff. And so of course that's changed, but you know, academia's response to like new technology is always like you would think the education system would know better and be able to realize things that are resources that can aid in education. And so of course all the academia is like, oh, people are going to use AI to plagiarize, and you know, they're submitting their essays with copy and pasted work, which is true, but they should be teaching people, you know, how to use AI for essentially what I'm doing. It's like, how do you use it to find other sources? How do you find it? How do you use it to get better definitions of topics? And then teaching them, okay, this is how you use AI to get your responses, get your information, and then how to, you know, actually write that in an essay in your own words. because it's kind of like you can interview somebody
Turn right.
with this huge database of responses, and then you can go back and it tells you where you can do research. Like let's go back to the black holes. Like you can say, okay, what is a black hole? And so the black hole is a star that died. Stars have a huge amount of mass, and then a black hole happens when it shrinks down to a size, but the mass remains the same. And, okay, so then you got all that information. It's from a star, its mass, and it's a certain size. And so then you can actually go and say, okay, I want to figure out what mass is. So then you go to Wikipedia, find out what mass is, and everything.
Hey, the auto show is now open if you want to buy a new car. You leveled up. In 100 yards, turn left. In 100 yards, turn left.
Whenever you see a driver tar out on the open road, you can challenge them to a head-to-head.
I don't want to challenge anyone to a hit-to-hit. Mind your own business.
The bigger the rewards, so go after better cars. navigating without traffic. Keep an eye on your map to see what's coming up and pick your line through it.
And I have to clarify, like I say I'm working with all this AI stuff, but we don't really have AI. It's kind of like in the Halo universe, where they had two classifications of AI, and before the Covenant really attacked the UNSC, they had AI, but they had what was called dumb AI. And so, like, if you play Reached, there was Dot, and she was a dumb AI, where dumb AIs were like essentially just search databases and stuff and could bring up relevant information. So that's kind of like what we have now. They weren't something that was that could do creative thought or things like that. And so you say, well, not doing creative thought, they're doing creative things. They're doing, art generation, all that stuff, and that's creative. And it's not. They're not doing it. What they're doing is they're searching databases, and they're comprehending the probability of what you're asking for and what you, and this is what you want. And so they're not taking art directly. They are modifying the artwork and everything, but what it is and what machine learning is, it's kind of like gambling and predicting the odds, where you will have a computer look at a problem over and over and over and try to predict the output. So, like, let's say there's a coin flip, okay, and logically there's a 50-50 chance that a coin flip will be either heads or tails, 50-50. But what machine learning would be an example is you set up a computer or a robot to flip a coin, and it records it. It says, okay, this is heads, and then you tell the robot arm, okay, flip the coin this way, and then it's like, oh, it's heads again, and the computer records that. So it says, okay, if I flip it this way, it's heads. If I flip it this way, it's heads. But it does it thousands of times. And so it gets random answers where it's like, okay, this was tails, this was tails. And so it's recording and recording, and like the probability of flipping this way can get heads, the probability of flipping that way gets tails. And so, like, it's a huge amount of data that's just humans can't really process and don't want to. And so it comes up with the probability that, okay, this is how you would use that, is like, okay, it would watch somebody flip, and then the machine learning would say, okay, I saw them flip this way, so there's a slightly better chance that when that coin hits the ground, it's going to be heads. So that's what machine learning is it looks at a huge amount of data and tries to draw what the probability is of the output. And so with AI art, it looks at huge databases of art, and like there's usually a person, and it says, okay, this is a human, this next picture is a human, this next picture is a human. And so the machine looks through it and says, okay, this is a human, what makes that similar to this next image that is an image of a human? And then it tries to really hard to figure out what the human is. It doesn't really know what a human is, but what it's looking at is like, okay, these things are similar. And so when the human says, this is a human on the image, this is probably what they're talking about. This is the common denominator. And so then, so in that terms, they're submitting thousands of photographs of humans, of artwork and everything. And so then it does draw inspiration from that, where it says, okay, these are the humans. And then, like, you can say, okay, I want a man wearing a purple shirt. And so then it has the billion things of what it thinks a man is. And then it will search for, like, different articles of clothing where it's like, this is a purple shirt. And then it knows shirts are supposed to go on the chest, between, the neck and the pelvis area, and so it will kind of combine all those things into one. And then what I'm working with for AI art is I have it where instead of doing prompts, like you say, okay, I want a picture of a mountain drawn in abstract or impressionism. I actually give it one of my photos or one of my animations, and I just describe what it is. So, like for this one, I said, this is a
I forgot to say,
portrait
how'd you like
of
us to pass on a message?
a
Would
woman
you meet
in
her here when you get the chance?
a architectural ruins. And so it will actually look at the image, try to understand what it is, and then I'll say something like, I want it as though it's a painting. So it will convert my image into what it thinks is a painting. And it's so scary because like I do custom clothing, some of my characters are custom, all the other characters are not. And so the AI will actually, it uses my own artwork. And then like in terms of the painting will have the same clothing that I designed and everything that it sources from my own image. And so I'm working on a website. It's called Assisted Intelligence, where I'm going to be posting a lot of my artwork, but it's going to be, how the machine learning sees it from its perspective. So it's scary because it's like it knows it doesn't know, but it can predict what my artwork is and how I want it to be, the style and everything. So in some ways, I think if you're doing just AI prompt generation, then yeah, it is kind of. I don't think it's stealing, but I think the creation is the AI generator. You can't say, okay, this is my art. I generated the prompt. I think the AI did all the work. What is this? Why did I go here?
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
Just driving it away.
400 yards,
But
turn right.
it's pretty cool. And you've probably seen on social media, people submit their photos of themselves, their selfies, and then the AI generates, make it look like an epic,
Turn right.
fairy landscape fantasy portrait. And so I still think that's different because I think that's they're using their own likeness, they're using their portraits. A lot of them are like professional grade,
Left.
artworks that they submit,
Turn left. Turn right.
and then it spits that out. So I do think that's the creator's artwork, as in the person who's submitting that to the AI,
Left.
because like we've had things like that forever in Photoshop where we've had effects that you can apply to photos and photo manipulation, and I still think photo manipulation is still considered a form of art, but people have been where am I supposed to go? Do I have to go to the car meet?
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
I'm pretty sure I'm like the only one in Horizon. Like they shut down the servers.
In 200 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 100 yards, turn right. In 100 yards, turn right. Turn left. In 400 yards, turn left.
Yeah. And so that's what machine learning is. It's pretty much
Turn left.
it looks at 1,000 different things that it thinks are the same thing, same subject, and then it tries to predict what about those images are the same. And so for the AI text, Like you ask it a question,
You have arrived at your destination.
and so it doesn't understand anything you're saying to it. It doesn't understand what it's giving back to you, the answer. What it is it assigns each word they call it a token. And so, like, the word, I don't know, like stars would be like a token of 456. And so then it would say, okay, when I see token 456, they're probably talking about this. So there's a whole section of possible documents, not documents, of search results that relate to token 456. And so it says, okay, probably talking about either universes, stars, black hole, or something. And then the next word in the question you would ask it would be like, what? And so it knows, okay, it's asking a question about stars. So it's probably, it just goes down to what you're probably talking about. And so that's kind of what the AI is. It's just searching for, there's, 10% chance this is what the person is talking about. And when someone's talking about this, 10% of the time, they want to know this.
We'll be seeing storms like this pretty regularly throughout the season. It's a very different set of challenges from anything we've faced so far. Combine that with some really harsh and rugged terrain, and I think you'll start to get the idea of why we're here.
I don't even think I can get Storm Island because the servers are shut off. Yeah, see, the servers are shut off.
Alright, I have something I need you to get involved with. Get yourself over to Nice Harbour and bring an overnight bag. I'll see you there.
Can I? I'll try it, but pretty sure it's not gonna work. I'm gonna take a short break. Okay, I'm back. I think we'll be streaming for another 20 minutes or so.
In 400 yards, turn left. In 400 yards, turn right. Turn right. In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 200 yards, turn right. Turn right. In 200 yards, turn sharp right. Turn sharp right. You have arrived at your destination.
See, I knew it. It was a lie. There's nothing for me to do over there. My life is a lie.
In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In
What should we do? I'll do Sport Heroes. So all the ones that are downloaded, you can't do because the server's shut down. So we really only have one choice. I actually don't have any choices. I can't afford this. Can't afford this. I was hoping they'd give me a freebie. No, it even says there's no affordable cars. It says it by omission. Okay, we want the best. So it's kind of B. I like Subarus. So 674. I don't like Mitsubishis. This is gonna be and that's when it is. I woke up late. I woke up at like 1:30, and I'm staying up all night tonight. But I actually have to hurry because I have to go and pick up some parts because like the sun is setting in like an hour. Like you really gotta watch out. You wake up at like 2, and you've literally missed the whole day in winter, the whole sunlight day.
Something different? Little adventure? There's a scenic route up ahead. See if you can stick with me. Might get a little bumpy.
That was so unnecessary.
Guys, we've just added a new station to your radio presets. You should all have an intertune radio available now.
Turn left. In 400 yards,
Taking a shortcut.
Recalculating route.
I can't hear the engine, which is why I'm not doing so well.
Excellent driving. Another big win.
I can't select it. There we go.
In 100 yards, turn left. In 100 yards, turn left.
I'm all over the place. I went way off course. I assumed I was going somewhere else.
Whoa, that was intense. Well done.
In 200 yards, turn left.
I think we're just gonna go forward, wheelie.
Turn left.
Can't go forward, wheelie.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
looking for the edge of this gate. It doesn't matter. I really can't get over there.
You just smashed a Horizon bonus board. We've hidden them all over Southern Europe for you to find. Some of them, like the one you just smashed, will net you an XP bonus and take you closer to your next wristband. Others will get you a discount on fast travelling around the festival. So keep your eyes peeled for them.
In 400 yards, turn right. Turn right.
barely made that. Sneak attack.
Oh, wow. You made that look easy.
I'll
Wow.
be right back.
3 championships, 3 wins. A perfect start. You know, the last person to win their first 3 championships was, me. Good job, mate.
We're at 25% there already.
That just about brings our first road trip of the summer to a close. I have one last thing to do before we head back to the festival for tonight's awards party. So, meet me here.
Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. I got the train. Everyone knows I like the trains. Sorry about that. I had to check my phone. It was the music from before that tricked me. A train in vain.
Okay, you've got more ground to cover than the train, but there is no better car for this course than the Fulvia.
That was a terrible turn. Will I make it? Will I? Barely. I'm pretty sure this is scripted, so I win. As long as I
That
don't make too many mistakes.
is the best race I've seen so far this summer. Unlimited Leisure has just been added to the list of radio stations. Should be available now.
In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 400 yards, turn right. Turn right. In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 400 yards, turn right. Turn right.
That was a long time. That was at least like 3 minutes ago that I beat that train thing. It's time to party hard.
Alright, you made it. And now it's time to party before we head out for tomorrow's road trip.
Where shall we go now?
Remember what I said before? Buying a new car will open up new events to you. Why not pick out a new ride for this next championship? This way you can get a feel for it while we're driving there.
Oh man, do they have the Mini? I hope so. I know they have a Mini Cooper, but I don't know if it's the right one. This is actually the car my mom had. My dad actually crashed it. And that was the first warning sign. So that's $399. But I didn't see what class. So it's D $399. Everything I have to download. I can't do. Here we go. And see if I can do all my cars as camouflage.
Guys, some people have been complaining that their radios are picking up a local Italian station playing classical music. I don't know, I quite like it. It's definitely different. Okay guys, are we ready? The first stop on this road trip is Montalino. Now this isn't a race. Take your time, explore a little. We ready? Let's go.
Explore a little. I'm just gonna go in a straight line.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
As straight as we can go.
Turn around when it is safe to do so. Calculating route.
I never make this turn. I don't know what it is about it, but I always forget about it until it's way too late.
In 400 yards, turn left. Turn left.
Right, the Retro Hot Hatch Championship. You're a man after my own heart. You know, the first car I ever owned was a Mark II Golf. Man, I loved that thing. Okay, pick an event to start the championship. Hey, you've been performing really well so far. In fact, you've impressed me so much that I have a little job for you, if you're interested. The PR team needs a photo of every car at the festival. I can pay you cash for every unique car you snap, and I'll give you a bonus for, say, every 20 cars. How's that sound?
Terrible.
Take a photo of your car now and get yourself started.
I don't want to take photos.
All right.
Oh man, that's a lot of money.
Easy money, eh?
That changes everything. This just got real.
Turn around when it is safe to do so. You have arrived at your destination.
Again, that was a really delayed achievement. Super delayed.
this, but you can change cars mid-championship, so long as you change it to another car that's also eligible for this championship.
In 400 yards,
This looks like it's gonna be the last one. I have to go after this. That was my text message. Things are ready to be picked up. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out.
Make a name for yourself.
I don't know when I'll be back on. I don't even know what day it is because I've been up all night. I might be online tomorrow, Sunday. But see everyone later. Bye-bye.